Welcome everyone to the female bodybuilding channels. The secret behind the female muscle, Zimmerman, it's in the building, and we have three-time Olympia in fitness and Arnold Classic champion and top 10 in her first ever comeback season to the figure, two-figure at the Olympia, Missy Truscott.
What's up, guys? Thank you for having me.
Are we ready, Missy, for WrestleMania? Are we ready for Roman Reigns takeover, by the way?
Woo. Oh man, I'm so pumped for WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Couple of weeks here, right?
2 weeks
Yeah.
to go. And Rafael, I know you don't know this, but you know Missy even did her Roman Reigns in her theme in her Olympia winning routine two
No,
years ago.
no, I sadly don't know this.
Yeah. So that's something for you to look up.
AJ and I were like going back and forth like all through
Yeah.
that prep, and he's like, you have to have Roman Reigns epic music. And I'm like, okay, let's do it. So I added it in.
So this is an episode about mental health, mindset. We're a little bit different topic this time. Not only about nutrition and PEDs and things like this. This is more for mental health and the mindset in those type of things. And before we go into that, Missy, talk to us a little bit then as a top athlete in one division, switching over to a division you're not that familiar with the expectations sky high when you haven't even competed in division, well, at least not in years. What some of the mental issues, not mental issues, but the mindset issues is more the right word, when you have those expectations switching a division?
Yeah, so going into the figure division from fitness, being a professional athlete for, X amount of years now. It's not, I'm gonna compare it to like a soccer athlete or football, I think you guys call it, or like an actual like NFL football player. A lot of these professional athletes, have PR managers that they can like totally disconnect from social media where they don't have to be looking at it all the time. But as a professional bodybuilder, a lot of us have contracts where we're obligated to be on social media. So you can't just go like Dorian Yates style, go into the shadows for months on end, prepping for like an Olympia or something. You have to be active on your social medias. So I think the social media part was a little bit of a zinger for me this year because there was a lot of hype of me going into the figure, which I am super grateful for. I love my fans, followers, and friends who pump me up on social media. But it's tough, man, when you're sitting there and then after the Olympia, you're getting all this like hate from people you don't even know. But I do have to say, um, being there in person, it's 100% positive. No one's coming up to me saying like, your shoulders are small or like you were in the second call out. Like nothing like negative that way. It was all super positive. So I'm going to say like the social media aspect is really hard for a lot of people because we can't disconnect from it. We have to stay on, we have to be active. And the negative comments and everything, that's tough to deal with. But I think the longer you've been in like the industry, the thicker skin you get. And I think I'm pretty thick skinned now with a lot of that.
Mm. Do
So,
do we, do women act differently to other women with confidence, or when women speak their mind a little bit and not so politically correct, do women react different to women like that?
I'm gonna say, yeah, I think I got a little bit of pushback this year when I was trying to light a little fires at the press conference. We want to make it entertaining. For me, I was just speaking the truth, and a lot of people got upset with it, which I mean, it is what it is. Maybe I should have been a little softer to certain people, but that's just me. Like I just say it how it is, and if you don't like it, then that's okay. Like we don't have to be friends or whatever. But I do think for whatever reason in bodybuilding, there's a lot of like gassing each other up, like, oh my God, girl, you look so good and all of that. And I think that's great. That is freaking awesome. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I feel like the men can get away with going at each other and you can pick sides and whatever, kind of like wrestling, like WWE. But then in the women's division, it's not like that. You have to be like zoop, quiet and just not say anything. But that's not me. That's not how I roll. So people who
So,
follow me know that.
so Zimmerman, you as a coach, talk to us a little bit about when you see what is the importance, what will be some of the issues starting prep when you get a client, and then you instantly see what are some of the signs you can tell that the women aren't mentally ready for a prep, and what are some of the signs you can see that goes wrong when you notice the girls are not mentally really there at all. Specific when you introduce cardio, lack of sleep, PEDs, hard training. Can you talk to us a little bit about those type of things, Zimmerman?
Yeah, yeah, I think everyone sees the physique on stage, like every girl or every man who started into competing sees this physique on stage, but very few understand the psychological cost on like getting there. And like I would say it's a prep is always like a controlled stress environment where you say like you're dieting hard, you're doing cardio, you're pushing supplements, we know this, and trying to like maintain the performance at the highest level. And in our sport, it's the only time when it gets closer to a contest, you get less and less food in on average and need to do more and more and more. In every other competition or in every other sport, leading up to the competition, you get more food and everything. And towards the competition, the last weeks are always the hardest. So one of the biggest risks I see is tying their self-worth, putting entirely to their physique on stage or to their result in the end, because they have much higher expectations, especially in the beginning, than what is realistic. And yeah, what you say, what are red signs is always like when the first sentence is I want to turn pro without even stepped on the stage or whatever. Like they don't understand really like what it takes psychologically over a very long period of time to stay consistent with the basics, and that's mentally often the hardest part.
Mm.
That they start at 24 weeks out, and you need to know as an athlete that the magic isn't happen between 6 months and 8 weeks out. There's nothing really crazy going on. It's just ticking the boxes daily, and then at 8 weeks out it really starts to get like you see the changes, not daily but like you see the changes, and till then it's just staying consistent. And there's the time where always people already fall off track or fell off track.
So for you, Missy, you're also a coach and you've been in the game for some time, a long time. And is it possible to finish a 16-week prep if you go into it with already big mental problems? Is that possible in the beginning? Is this something that's possible? Can it be fixed during prep, or should they wait till things are more stable in their own life or brain before entering a prep?
Yeah, I always encourage clients of mine to be like mentally in a good place, like with their relationships, with their finances. The finance one is a big one because I feel like a lot of, men, women, they start these preps and, say they're whatever, 16 weeks out, and then they need to be paying their coach, they need their groceries, their supplements, all of that stuff, but they don't have the finances to do it, and then that's causing more stress on them. So it's just little things like that. I think it's important for clients to know, like, hey, all of this should be, you should have all your ducks in a row and then jump into a contest prep. The stage is always going to be there. There's shows like every weekend in America, especially at the amateur level. So I always encourage, my clients to just hold off if they're not mentally there. Because the cortisol spike, just everything, you just don't look your best. Your body starts to stall. Yeah, it's not worth it. And then it's not enjoyable. and then they're going to talk bad about bodybuilding, right? They're not going to have a good time. It's just going to be negative all around. So I do think it's really important um, for people to just have those ducks in a row before they get into a prep.
Mm, mm. And we're not going to go into your personal because that's for you, Missy. But what happens to some girls if they we can go to your semen after if they're mentally not completely there, mentally, and then you introduce things like hormones into a female body when you're already mentally not there. You've probably seen it with some athletes and some athletes over time. What are some of the dangers that can go really bad if you're mentally not there and then you introduce hormones for a
Yeah.
female? You've seen probably some crazy things happen to other people. Can you tell the viewers what are some of the like dangers with if you're already a little bit mentally not there and then you add hormones into the system?
Sure. Well, let me just speak on myself, AJ, because
Mm,
I'm comfortable doing so.
okay.
We all know going like prepping for Olympia is like it's our bodybuilding biggest show of the year. It's our, Super Bowl. Um, I have a super supportive husband when it comes to whatever I need to do for bodybuilding. I know for myself, the last like 6 to 4 weeks going into a big show, I am not myself. I've turned very cold, and I know that now because I've been doing this for so long. But I have to turn inwards on myself and realize like, okay, this isn't like an actual problem. This is a me problem. Like I need to snap out of this and get my shit together because it's not the end of the world. Like for example, if I'm like really, really dragging, right? And I still have like another cardio session to do. That's something that I need to like dig into myself and do. No one's going to do it for me. And I don't have like the empathy for clients or even for myself sometimes. It's like just get your ass up and do it because this is what you want, right? Um, so yeah, that's a little bit like what I can speak on, like for myself. Those last couple weeks are really hard, and you're pushing, you're grinding. My 2023 Olympia prep, that's where I was mentally. I was totally just like shut off from the world, um, freaking all in. And yeah, I don't know. I just unfortunately blew out my ACL and meniscus on stage, and it was a bit of a train wreck after that. But I pulled myself together, and I'm here now. So
And
yeah.
that was the most greatest physique look you ever had. Zimmerman 2023, your editor, tell him to put. What would have happened, Missy, if you would delivered that conditioning with the little bit added size you had for this year? Where do you think you at least 2, 3 spots up? Don't you think?
Yeah, I think for sure the first call out.
Yeah, yeah.
Unfortunately, just didn't get that conditioning this year or the past year. But
How
that's
deep did you have to go to achieve that conditioning, by the way? Can you remember how much cardio or how maybe little carbs you had? Can you remember anything of it?
yeah. So I was going like zero carb for a couple weeks for that look. Um, I was doing fitness routine practices daily. I believe it was 2 hours of cardio a day.
And
On
one
top of the
question:
fitness
can you
routine.
yeah, okay,
Yeah.
Zimmerman, yeah, explain to the girls wanting to do this how are you able to lift weights and do a routine with we say zero carbs, meaning just a little bit carbs from the meat, from a little bit in the meat, so like 20 carbs a day, probably, if even that. How do
Yeah.
you find the energy to do these lifts and jumps?
Yeah. Well, I guess I was having pre-workout carbs, maybe 17 grams, just like nothing. But it was like the will to win. I wanted it. I knew I was right there. I was right there for my third Olympia win. And I wanted to go in and destroy. And I freaking destroyed that routine round, or sorry, the physique round. But then unfortunately, with the adrenaline on stage, with how dry I was, I just, that landing, I've done it a million times, since I've been like 10 years old. And the landing when you come down on your knee, it just shifted and yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I was.
matter of time. I think as you get older too in the sport, it's just bound to happen, It happens a lot, especially in like women's sports like gymnastics and cheerleading. It's just one of those things.
Zimmerman, we can go to the question I touched. We shouldn't touch on it. So, for you then, as a coach, what are some of the things you see when the girls are having mental issues, mental issues, mental health issues, whatever you want to call it, and then you implement hormones? What does that do to the brain? Do they get worse? Do they get more calm? Does it go in a disaster? What happens?
I would say it's completely individual, but I think my job as a coach is always to like separate the performance from the identity. Like Missy said, she's a complete different person the last 4 weeks or so, and you're not operating in a normal state during the prep, especially during the last weeks. So it's completely individual. Some are like it's doing nothing for them, and then a small amount of anything what they already did in the past is completely different this prep, and they just cannot handle it. And the biggest problem is that the cortisol is just going up and up and up, and there's always or often the point where I think people think they need to push harder, and you need really to explain them that that does the opposite now. When you already cortisol is sky high, and you're trying to, okay, I'm not losing weight, I need to push harder, then the opposite is going on, and you're stalling, and your looks getting worse and more watery, etc. So you really need to be like in touch, especially in the prep, like at 12, like 8 weeks out, very, very often, to see also get feedback on how the fatigue level is. And because it's not always about the look, it's also when they feel like crazy exhausted already at 12 weeks out, you need to change some things, because that shouldn't be like that. Of course, these extreme level conditions, when we talk about figure, physique, etc., you don't feel good, but you at least don't need to feel shit for like 5 months. So mentally and physically. So you always need to look at the clients and give them kind of feedback. Okay, hey, I think this is not working, because you really need to be careful what you're doing right now. You're noticing as a coach also, because you need to be empathic, and try to at least try to understand how the person is feeling right now. Of course, you cannot say, okay, your diet, I'm not going to eat for you or train for you or do anything for you. But if you cannot do it, like, then we need to adjust things,
You
and then
still
it's
didn't
not the
you
best.
still didn't answer the question. What happens when you're crazy and you include hormones? I'm
Yeah,
saying,
then
as a guy, if I remember back in the day when I was younger, I could be a little bit crazy. When I increase my testosterone, I could get rage.
eh,
Doesn't this happen to women as well?
yeah, of course, because the
Yeah, that's
women
what I asked the
it's
hundred
even
times.
more it's even more complex, because their hormonal fluctuations directly impact their mood recovery and their emotional stability. So it's way worse than for men,
So
because
that's what I asked in the beginning. You still haven't touched it. So you're saying it's way worse, and for men, when the women are a little bit crazy and they implement hormones, it can go really bad, correct?
yeah, true. Absolutely. 100%. And that can cause really, like, if you have mental, like you said, mental health issues, whatever it is, it can be anxiety, it can be like you feel depressed, you're feeling not good. And this can get really dangerous. We saw it in the past that mental health is a big, big topic in bodybuilding, not only for men, also for women, because everybody, from what I heard, is talking about mental health in bodybuilding for men, but that it's even crazier for women. I don't hear that much of it, that
No.
much as from men. I don't
We
know what Missy, what is your point on that?
Yeah, I think like a lot of women just kind of downplay it maybe.
Mm.
and don't talk about it because it is very, taboo for women to be talking about like hormonal health, or if they are taking like androgens or whatever. Um, I can speak for myself. I was getting a lot of anxiety at one point, like a couple months back, and this worked for me. I literally just did like a therapeutic blood draw, bloodletting, and that lowered my red blood cell count, and I felt so much better. Um, so there are like little things that you kind of learn along the way. Um, Getting a therapeutic blood draw, that's something you would have to do at like a clinic. You can't do that yourself or have like a bro do it for you. You have to get like go into like a blood donor clinic or like an HRT place to get something like that done. But that's something that, a coach can look at your blood work and tell you like, hey, your hematocrit is really high. Let's think about doing a therapeutic sometime soon. And typically people can do therapeutics every, 3 months, depending on how high their red blood cell count is.
And how important, Missy, is it? You touched based upon it, like for women that does bodybuilding or fitness, it's not a normal woman thing, you could say in a way, for some men. So how important is it to have, if you're in a relationship, to have someone that's either supportive or not against it? And Zimmerman, you can also touch on that later. What do you see from a client if they have a boyfriend or husband who's against it? So, Missy, how important is that to have someone, if you're with someone, that they're at least supportive and understanding to the lifestyle mentally for you?
Yeah, just like I said, my example, not being like myself the last couple weeks of prep. My husband completely understands that, and he gives me so much grace, if he's like, do you want to go take a nap? Do you need to chill? Like, what do you need to do? How can I help you? Like, that is an amazing partner. And, although he doesn't professionally compete as a bodybuilder, he still lives the lifestyle. He gets it. So I can help him some days too, when he's dragging or whatever, or if it's something in like his career that he does, something that I can help with. But, I do see it, especially in like younger clients that I have, they might have a boyfriend that is jealous of them or just not supportive. And that's going to be the demise of their relationship if they don't stop bodybuilding because how can you just stop someone from wanting to do like their hobby? It's so, yeah, I mean, it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I'm blessed that I do have a husband and who supports me. And I do see on social media, a lot of the top bodybuilders, like the open guys, they have amazing relationships. And it's like their bodybuilding success, I believe, has a big part of their home, like what they're doing in their relationship, how their spouse supports them, and so on.
I'm very happy with Matt in your YouTube videos because now I can see that his veins over his forearms. I can see his side delts. I remember back in the day he was in good shape, but now he's getting freaky. I think he's even more into the gym almost than you, Missy, right now, correct? The same level at least.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
he's getting after it.
Yes. Zimmerman, since you're coaching 50 girls, I don't know how that's possible, but what do you see with the issues if they Missy, can you believe he has 50 girls already? Now we drop Missy. What is she? Should we drop Missy? Zimmerman, what's some of the issues when you see the girls don't have a supportive partner at home or a boyfriend doing this?
That's the worst case scenario, in my opinion. But it can also be too much because if you're only using your partner as your whatever he does or she does for you, let's say he, because we're talking about women,
Yes.
um, they do a lot or they do nothing. And if they do a lot, it
So the
really.
guys either do everything for them, paying and doing all these crazy things, or we can just go. She's probably coming back in, or they do nothing. Correct?
There she is. Okay.
There she is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh, in my opinion, yes. For example, like Mark yesterday, it's really great to have someone who actually reacts and can understand what's important now. Okay, get the sodium, get this rice or whatever where she is, and when you are in touch with her husband, because the last days leading into the show, you can work together as a team with their partner because they don't need to do nothing except following your instructions. That takes stress from the athlete. So either it's very helpful, or it turns into the wrong direction that they get too selfish, and you need to be selfish in a certain way, but you need still to realize that you don't need to do this. You're doing it by yourself, and you can be grateful if you have someone who's supporting this. And yeah, always take in mind what the person is doing for you, and it's okay to be not the person you are for a couple weeks. But after the competition, you really need to be grateful for everything the person is doing for you, for your partner. And yeah, that makes a huge difference if you have stability around you, for example, your husband or whatever, or it completely breaks you. Because if you want this, like Missy said, and it's your hobby, and it's more than a hobby for it's a lifestyle. And you're constantly hearing like, do you need to do this? When is your prep over? How long do we need to do this? This is not helpful at all, but yeah.
We see girls dropping out even at game day, Missy, at the Olympia. It was a disaster last year. We saw some women's physique girls. It was a disaster. I don't know what's going on. Top 6 Olympians dropping out the day of the show, saying they got mental issues. Anyway, when is it not okay, but when should you consider actually dropping out of a show, in your opinion, Izzy?
Whew.
I know, because that's...
Yeah, I don't know, because so any contract that I've ever signed to do a show, I've always done it. I've never not. So I don't know, like mental health is so big now and everyone is so different. So I don't want to say like, oh, they should have to compete. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. It's hard to say. Like for fitness, if you, it's different. For fitness, I feel like if you have an injury, you definitely should not try to push yourself to get on stage, or, just do the physique round and then disqualify yourself. I don't know. But I don't know what the right answer is, AJ. I'm sorry. I don't know. If it were me, I
Zimmerman,
would do it.
Zimmerman, when as a coach do we need to pull the plug? Obviously health, of course, but if it's not something wrong with your like really bad with your bloods or whatever, when should you pull out? Some mental issues. What would be the case?
If somebody's really like, I think the only scenario where I would say really like drop out, of course, if they say I cannot do it from themselves, because in the end it's their decision, or if they start getting an eating disorder, start binging or something like, because that's also a mental issue. Because yeah, that doesn't lead to the look on stage, so nobody wins. And that's the point where you say, okay, that happened one time, that's already bad. If it happens a second time, we need to drop out. And yeah, or if you need feedback. You need constant feedback from the client. How are they feeling? Because especially with women, they feel different, and like Missy said, they try to maybe not talk so much about it. And a lot of athletes maybe also don't know what they are allowed to talk to their coach, or what it's only my coach, it's not a psychologist, which is right.
Mhm.
But at least if it's something really like what is yeah, really something heavy, you need to address, and then your coach should give you advices what to do or what not to do, especially when it comes to this anxiety, etc. If you feel anxious the whole day, you will not do it to the stage. No way.
What has helped you the most? Some advice before we some last questions, but what's some of the best advice you can give that's kept you mentally strong as a top, the greatest fitness athlete of all time with Oksana Grishna? We got to give her a tie there. Whoever's best, people at home can send a DM. But what's one of your best advices to stay mentally strong for prep? That's work for you.
Yeah, I think just internally looking inward and knowing that you've checked all of the boxes, that you've done all your cardio, that you've stuck to your diet plans, that you haven't missed supplements, that you're on your schedule and doing everything you can to be prepared. So when you show up on game day, that you're ready, you're confident, you know that no one's going to stand in your way. Um, and that's just for me, like trial and error, you know? That's the advice that I would give
So
to
structure
someone.
helps, right? Structure. So same meal, same routine every day. Would you say?
Yeah,
Yeah.
sure. And even like, you know, even in the off season too, like you had said at the beginning of the podcast, just checking the boxes off, like day in and day out, just eating your meals, training, doing what you need to do.
Missy, okay, before we go, let's hear the plan. 2026, what are we doing? We are in bulking phase, correct?
Correct. Yeah. So a couple more weeks of the off season here, and then
How
we'll
many
get.
calories are you eating? We want to know.
So, my coach does all of that for me. I don't want to think about it. Just tell me
Okay.
exactly what to eat. I don't care about the macros, anything like that.
You're in
Just tell me
surplus.
surplus. Yeah, big time. Yeah. So for a couple more weeks, and then I am going to be starting my prep, like end of May-ish.
Oh,
Uh,
that early?
yeah. Yep.
Why? Why that early? Because what happens is there a surprise? There's no way you're starting in May if you're competing in October,
Well,
No, it's
Olympia
in
September.
September.
September,
Yeah. Um,
June, July, August. Will there be a show before then?
I am not 100% sure yet, but potentially because we do have the Sasquatch, like that big Bigfoot trophy. Um, that is a week before the Olympia
And
here
that's
in
a
Washington.
2027 Olympic qualifier.
I think so. I think it will be. We're not 100% sure yet, but I think it is. So potentially do that show because it's literally like an hour from my house.
Hmm.
But I don't want it to affect my Olympia peak. So we'll
No.
see. I have to really see how I'm looking, if I can just walk into the show. But yeah, ultimately the goal here is Olympia. I want to be in the first call out. I'm just putting that out there now.
Yeah.
And I've had an amazing off season. As you guys can remember from like this past Olympia, I had to bring up my legs, obviously, from the knee injury. And I think I've done a really good job of that. So I'm excited to show the legs here in a couple months.
When will we see the transformation leg pics?
Ooh, I don't know. We might have to, I might be pulling a Dorian Yates on that one.
Yeah.